Yeah.
I think. And then you push it too far, you get sloppy, you get really exhausted, and there's diminished returns. But there's that sort of golden period, I think.
Well, one of the goals right there, is when Osensei is talking about it, he says you went over yourself. It's kind of that sloppy zone. And the ability to stay focused on there. So your mind and your body, they coordinate, that's good. Then you get tired, you get sloppy. But my sense of it, is that there's something called spirit. And spirit, of course, mind meets body. If you don't have the proper ingredients, you don't really produce a good cut. The grip is important, stance is important, all right? But then again, what keeps you from getting sloppy as you get tired? There's something called spirit. And, there's an area right there where if we go into the discussion of what the square was, what he said is of neither the manifest nor the hidden realms. You're doing, you're starting the training, you're getting better at it, which is the circle. And then you hit a zone where, you're okay. Stephen Curry does a lot of work to be where he is. And he signed a contract for like 5 more years. And so he's investigating, people like Tom Brady that are playing quarterback at age 44 in the NFL, longevity, right? But he'll kind of know it's time when he's putting that work in and he starts saying, when's this going to end? Because the truly great ones, and this is sports, and Aikido is not a sport. But when you're swinging the sword, what keeps you on track when you start to get physically tired and you start to get sloppy? Okay, so there's that word spirit or whatever it is. See, mind leads body. But you see, when you get tired, you're getting tired mentally, and that shows in the physical. So I thought Bill Wallace's statement was really interesting. He says the tired muscle is a relaxed muscle. So, he's doing all those stretches, right? And the muscles get tired. He says, good. They relax. And how many people go, I don't want to do this. He said one time he played a whole game of Trivial Pursuit this way, with his legs extended out there. And he said he couldn't move after that. But, there's an area where, you can take this to an extreme, right? And did he do that again? I don't know. But sometimes, you have to kind of go back, going past your norm without forcing it. Sometimes you hit a zone. When the Do-sensei talks about Bobby, Robert, Nado sensei, there's a point where, Bobby gets tired. And a lot of times Bobby goes into this stuff, but Bobby gets tired sometimes, and all of a sudden Robert starts to face him. Bobby gets tired of his Bobby noise, and all of a sudden he hits Robert. And Robert's better. And then all of a sudden, you're Robert for more. Then all of a sudden, Robert gets tired. And, and he goes back into Bobby and gets kind of irritated. But on other occasions, Robert slides into Nado. And so, that purpose right there, I remember, this is my history, but I used to run 5 miles a day, okay? And it was interesting when I started Aikido again, I started meditating, I started doing Tai Chi. I started doing the 5 miles again. It was, and, I was a regular student when I was doing 5 miles a day. I was doing 2 and huffing and puffing. And one day there was a guy that actually did 10-mile runs. And so, I started running with him. And I keep going and keep going and keep going. So I actually did 5, but then I said, I better bow out. It's just nothing said. I'm exhausted. It's just that, I've done enough. And then the next day, I just ran 5 miles, way past my norm. Question is, was I going to go back and do it the next day? And I did. And I started running Monday through Friday. Every day I get to school early. I had to go field house at UC Santa Cruz and up a steep hill to go to the natural sciences, And I would go there. It rained. I would run. It was really funny that the front half of me, when I was running and it was raining, would get wet and the back was dry. I ran barefoot. And I'd go in, shower, go up the steep hill to the natural sciences for whatever it was, graduate, it wasn't graduate level, it was upper division stuff in natural sciences. And so I had that. And then, it was also, I do the Tai Chi because it was about breathing and everything. So, I go to Japan and, there's this whole thing about you train fast. But I remember one time, I go to from California, I go to sneak into Hombu Dojo, Mary Haney Sensei sneak me in. And, Japanese, everybody goes, he's just somebody from whatever. And so, I'm working with this one American guy, kind of, Kokyuho at the end. And they're different style. Like he's freezing me out. And then he kind of looks at me and says, if you don't know this, you don't know Aikido. Oh, okay, And so what happens is I'm training in Shingaru. And what we used to do a lot of times is, after class, not too many people did it, but you go up to Yanase sensei, who was there a lot, and ask him to throw you around after class. And the point is, when you did that, you basically, he decided when it was done. And so I used to work a lot with Yanase sensei. And what happened is this guy from Tokyo comes down. And it's really interesting because, I'm there for a couple of months and then we're doing Kokyuho. I go like this and he falls down. I go, oh, come on. He says, no, you're different now, after a couple of months there, And what happens afterwards, he says, what do you do here if you're a serious student? I said, well, you go to Yanase sensei and ask him for ukemi practice. He throws you around. So this guy goes there, he doesn't quite understand the rules of it. So he takes a couple of rolls and then he quits, bows out. Bad form there. And so there I am, right? And so I go in there and he's throwing me and he's throwing me and he's throwing me. But I notice certain things. Okay, he throws me forward until I start to get tired, taking forward rolls. Then he starts throwing me back. And then I start, but part of me is recharging when he's throwing me back. And then when I'm starting to get tired of going forward or back, he drops to his knees and we do Swati Waza. And then when my knees start to ache, he starts me up again, forward. And then he goes back. And then it starts to get crazier where I don't know whether he's going to go cream me this way or smash me that way. And I just keep going. And, what happens, I'm a white belt. The belt comes off. It falls off. I don't stop. And so my gi is open, right? And he's throwing me really fast. So the gi top comes off. And keep going. Finally, what happens? I don't stop. Finally, he comes in and creams me right in the face because I wasn't necessarily tired, but I misread his energy. And I was wearing contact lenses, and I thought he knocked the contact lens. So I said, "Sumimasen, renzu," you know. So we're looking for it, but it turned out he just knocked it up here, so I put it back in. I don't wear contacts anymore. Okay, but I turn around and the whole dojo is watching, and Hikizuchi Sensei looks at me, and he had limited English, but he looks at me and says, "Oh, wonderful." And I got a lot of respect from that. And, some of it is not good because, that culture, they kind of, there's a worshiping quality when you can take punishment. And so, but, the fact was, I wasn't tired. I was tired at the beginning. But then I realized, that he would vary what we were doing and let me recharge. And so Linda Holiday Sensei asked me, he says, well, once, I don't know if it was that night, he says, "What did you feel like after that?" And I said, "Oh," because I sat down in Seiza, and the whole top half of the dojo was a sparkling energy field. And I wasn't tired. I tried it a couple of nights later. I made it 20 minutes, but somebody said it was actually 42 or 43 minutes. Okay. So sometimes when you, and the thing about it, so I got a sort of a reputation. And then Yanase Sensei, he would call me in, because a lot of the younger guys were kind of black belt candidates, as was I there technically. So he would all of a sudden, I jumped to the top of his Ukemi, his Ukemi list. So he threw me around, and I got a lot of respect for, because everybody watched that and said, "Oh my God." I thought of like Willie Mays, when he was younger, he would run off to a fly ball, make an incredible catch, and his cap would fall off when he was running for the ball. And that was part of the theater. After a while, you found out that he wore a big hat so that when he was sprinting to make a miracle catch, the cap would come off and everybody would go crazy. And, I hadn't planned it, but, my belt falls off. My top falls off. And there I am, bare chested, no belt, just being thrown and thrown and thrown and thrown. And I keep going because he was providing energy waves for me. As long as I could ride and fuse with those waves and spirals, I was fine. And that was a case of, you go and you go, because the guy from Tokyo, he was, he was good, he was good, whatever. But, he obviously didn't understand that. And so he came up to me, at this guy, "Oh, you don't understand shit, kid," the first time. And he said, "That's the most impressive thing I think I've ever seen." It wasn't I was throwing, it was just I just kept on riding the energy waves or emanations. And so at the end of it, I was going, wow, this is pretty trippy. My breathing was very, I wasn't tired. I was invigorated. And, when I mentioned that to Linda Holiday Sensei, she said, "Wow," and, and then the teachers, they started throwing me around. And then when Hikizuchi Sensei came to America, it was the following year in 1974, because what I'm talking about is 1973. They, he brought this guy with him who was kind of like one of the he would smash people around. And, he got into a lot of stuff with people, bloodying them up and everything, And, Hikizuchi Sensei got really pissed at him. So all of a sudden, I start to be the primary uke, because I've been thrown around. It's the point where, other than a misstep here, a misstep there, I'm able to ride the energy waves, right? And the way that, Hikizuchi Sensei put it once, it's job, but I'm talking about Kami, Amaterasu, Susano. These are not people. Ki nandesu. So, a good uke rides the emanations of ki. And in that way, you know, I think a lot of Aikido, you're supposed to put the 1, 4, 3, 8, not in the term in Japanese or senseis, they put it in the body. Doesn't mean, you know, body this way. It just means all of a sudden, yeah, I was perfectly fine. And I always had that reputation where I could be thrown and thrown and thrown and thrown. You could throw me almost any way, I'd be okay. Okay. So some of my students have picked that up, like, you know, Harry Concepcion Sensei kind of has some of that, you know. As we get older, you get into 70s. No, I wouldn't try that now. But in my 50s, Ono Sensei used to come over, and he used to use me as uke a lot when he first came over. And he didn't know what other people would do. Then as I got older, and a lot of the people here, their ukemi improved. Then he would start throwing other people around, and I said, thank you. Okay. So anyway, well, we're kind of way past where we should be. We're going to go pretty quick. Anybody with a question or comment on that? That was kind of my defining moment in 1973, you know, where, you know, I kind of turned some heads. I don't know if I ever did that again, but that's similar to the Boken. At some point, you know, the training, we don't do a lot of that. But yesterday, when we were kind of doing the faster movement here, there's some of that. You start to feel that you're, you know, as uke, you're riding the emanations of ki. And the nange, the emanations, you're moving as a part of. There's this fusion factor. So, you know, in that way, you start to understand, you know, what, you know, Sensei talked about Kami. He had obviously a much more of a relationship with these energies, these waves and spirals. He gave them names that were Japanese Kami names. Okay. Anybody with a question or statement? I don't know if anyone's still here. I assume a couple.
That was a great story.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought of it when we're swinging the boken. So I don't, you know, I mean, these days, you know, I take my boken into the TV room, and during commercials I swing. Sometimes they come out and I just swing. I don't look at the clock. But you know what I kind of notice is a lot of times, you know, after I've done that, you know, I just sit, close the eyes, and you know, I sit, you know, without doing that. But when I do the boken work, it's almost like you go to a deeper place that you may not notice until you kind of just try to do some sitting. And then when you do that, see, the problem with it is that, you know, a lot of times to really push yourself to where the spirit leads the mind, which then leads the body, it's you know, it can be confused with punishment. No, Yanase Sensei gave me a great gift. All I wanted to do was hurt me. All he would have done is got me tired and backed me up. No, he sensed when I was kind of dragging, and he would change the energy pattern. And I found the change of energy pattern rejuvenated me. It was a kind of, I hadn't really thought of that experience for a while, but you know, the closest I can get these days is just swinging the sword, or you know, doing things like that. The Tai Chi, you know, I always thought that one of the reasons I had that capacity was because the Tai Chi taught me about breath. It wasn't just, you know, the running, but it was the running with the Tai Chi. And then when I played basketball, I was always in motion, you know, kind of like wear people down, you know, that sort of thing. Now I'm small, I'm going to outrun you and outlast you, you know. So when you're tired, you're not going to be able to get to my shot, you know, that sort of thing. But I had to be able to, not going to be too tired to shoot when I wore the other person out, right? So anyway, that was a story I had really thought of. So anyway, we got to get going. I know it's past. Thank you for hanging in there with me. Wednesday's Mountain View. Okay. In-person training. So anyway.
Thank you,
End it for today's. Thank you. That's why a lot of times I think, you know, maybe Osensei went the Su-O route with people, because, you know, if you're primarily just consciousness and you're trying, you know, like, okay, I'm kind of mental, I'm studying it. And I'll get something out of it. And there's a certain amount of energy in study, but it's primarily, yeah. On the other hand, without this is the template for the matter energy, the body. So this is whatever, but the other ones, it comes right up here, like Stephen Curry, for example. He talks about the hands, the feet, the eyes, and he says, get all that, it just explodes through your core. And the sword cut itself, you do that and you do that. And then really what it is, that reverberation, like boom, explodes through here, boom. It's just like Curry's shot, or Mr. O's swing, or Osensei's cuts, his kiais, his whatever it is. I mean, Osensei was on a different level than the other two. So I can identify with, some limited degree being a fan of Sadaharu and Stephen Curry are accessible.
Has Nado Sensei or Mary Heine Sensei or any of them talked about Osensei's kiais? Because that had to be quite an experience in person.
Yeah, the first time I actually heard Osensei's kiai was on audio tape, because Hikizuchi Sensei was kind of going through, and this is kind of like dimensionality, right? Sensei's teaching a class, and I knew a couple of people in the class. I knew Ano Sensei, right? And then I knew Hikizuchi Sensei. And then, he asks Ano Sensei to get up and do a kiai, and Ano Sensei goes, hey, that's a really good kiai, okay? And then, Hikizuchi Sensei get up and, hey, wow, and then he kind of looks at, it was not audio tape, but you can kind of see him looking at us. He says, you guys don't get it, do you? And I don't think I can quite hit that, but hey! He did that, and I heard that, and it was totally unrehearsed. It was right towards where I was, Mary and I and a guy named Dick was there. We were all going to go back. Linda Holiday was going to go back. She was actually not Linda Holiday. She had a different name. Okay. She was going to go back a couple of months after us. So, but, it was pretty much a, farewell party for all of us, right? And before then, we were in Hikizuchi Sensei's house, and he put this tape of Osensei out. When I heard Osensei kiai, I was just kind of, I'd sort of been coming down with something, your system's kind of going, you're starting to drag, right? And, because I heard the kiai, I heard Ano Sensei, good kiai, really good. Heard Hikizuchi Sensei's kiai, he was really good at that. And then Osensei, it's a little bit like, Ano Sensei was kind of like a big river. And Hikizuchi Sensei's kiai was like a huge lake. And I've seen this river, and I've seen this large body of water, but I haven't seen the ocean. And Osensei's kiai was like the ocean. And what happened to me, I was kind of dragging like this, and I got, that kiai. And again, it was something that had taken place years before that Hikizuchi Sensei had taped. It was an audio tape. It knocked me right over. I mean, I was on the ground. Everybody cracked up, because, I started Aikido in 1969. And that was the year he passed on. He passed on in April. I started sometime in October. So, obviously I never got thrown by him. But technically, just the fact that just absolutely knocked me all the way over. Never had, I saw that, I listened to it again, and it didn't, next time I was like, wow, I read, but I never really felt that. Okay. So, I mean, it's real difficult to kind of like, what is that kiai? Well, it's a universe kiai. It's a little different than, you know, a very good martial artist, Sensei, a 10th degree black belt martial artist, Kizuchi Sensei. And you go, wow, that's good. And then all of a sudden you hear this other thing. You go, oh, okay. All right. Okay. So anyway, that's, you know, so the sound itself, kiai is, yeah. Apparently when Osensei kiai'd you, in fact, Osensei didn't have to kiai. I think Osensei could walk into a room and you'd feel it. So, you know, it's like, oh, usually if you're doing something less than you should have been doing, all of a sudden you go, oh, Sensei's here. That's what I hear from Terry Dobbs, Sensei, Robert Fraser Sensei, people like that. They're doing something, you know, not that it was bad, it was just, you know, something that he was not popularly behind. It's like fooling around with a stick, you know, something like that, pretending they were a samurai in a samurai movie. He didn't like that. So, you know, he would catch them and they would go, oh, oh, Sensei's here. Okay, so they didn't even knew, oh, all right. Anyway, I think we're going to call it with that. So, anything else, Cliff? Anything I just want to add about the last one? Yeah, it's a bit more body, isn't it?
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. Again, you know, from my thought, you know, if you're kind of in a sort of generic place with this stuff, then, you know, it's probably better for you to do the su, o, a, e. You know, su always kind of like the bottom support, then goes to ah. And then e, you know, e, all right. But, you know, the other ones, you know, some sort of primordial everything and nothing that all of a sudden organizes itself, settles, boom, su, allowing creation. And so su, awakening, the impulse of creation. Original mind, original design of energy, matter, body. Remembering itself, it came out of that original thing, and then the division process, and the many starting to become many more, but still retaining that sense of itself as the one, as well as the many. So, you know, there's a lot of ways to interpret that one, but that one is much more of a body chant. Okay, so I thank you all for tuning in. Okay.
Thank you, Sensei.
Okay, take care.
Thank you.